All right, it's streaming live again now.
Okay. Next item.
We are at commission remarks, communiques, reports, and other items related to the work session agenda.
Okay, I have Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to let my colleagues know that the Economic Development Committee met on September 29th to discuss providing additional funding for the Bell to Gill water system enhancement. The committee voted to forward this to the full body for further consideration. We felt that that the project would facilitate economic development along the I-49 corridor, would leverage state dollars to enable us to get more bang for the buck on expanding that water system. And it was also stated that a economic development or economic impact study would be required as part of the grant for that project. So I just want to let you all know that the Economic Development Committee did forward that to the Commission, and you'll see that on our agenda today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Atkins, in y'all discussion, did y'all talk about the fact that, okay, the state is going to give Blanchard a grant. Blanchard is asking us for a grant. But then the people on the end users, they basically will have to pay to tie into the system, and then they're going to also have to pay a higher rate to utilize the water because Blanchard would charge them a higher rate for out of the city service. Did any discussion of that come about in the committee meeting?
No, Mr. Chairman, those topics did not come up.
Okay, that's some of my concern about full grant. Not, okay.
Commissioner Johnson, did you hear what I say?
Yes. I mean,
it probably more like to be a part of the economic analysis that we have to do.
Right, but my thing is, they gonna basically be out of no money, and then they gonna make a profit on all the end users. And so why the parish can get paid back some of the money as a loan instead of a grant? That's my only concern and issue, which I'll voice that later if I have to. Commissioner Epperson and then Burrell.
Yes, sir. I wanted to thank Mr. Tim Weaver and our solid waste department for delivering on the waste bin for our cleanup on last Saturday. We appreciate everything very much. Everything turned out good. Drove around through the neighborhoods afterwards and everything looked good in the neighborhoods. We're very proud of it. Also, Chairman of the Economic Development Committee, Mr. Atkins, I just want to let you know you hurt my feelings the other day. Did you receive an email from me relative to your in-person economic development meeting?
No, sir.
I responded to all.
Sorry, are you referring to me, Commissioner Epperson, John Atkins?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, sir. I'm sorry. I do not recall receiving an email from you on that. And I certainly would have responded.
What is Atkins Timber? What is Timber? Something Timber?
Yeah,
is that you?
That is me. And maybe it got caught in my spam filter or something. Is there something? Go back.
Well, yeah, I just feel slighted because I saw you responded to Commissioner John Paul Young's email that said that he had to be out of town. And listen, then you went ahead, with the in-person meeting. Then all of a sudden Monday, I think, whenever it was that I think Mr. Hopkins tested positive, he switched the meeting over to virtual. And I just felt slighted because my reason for minimizing my in-person congregants is because I have an opportunity to visit with my mom, who's in an extended care facility. And I didn't want to do anything to jeopardize that situation. So I just want to let you know I feel very slighted because you did not respond to me.
Well, Commissioner Epperson, I think we all miss an email from time to time. And I think you may recall my response to Commissioner John Paul Young was that, hey, you can dial in if you'd like. So feel free to, if you don't hear back from me when you should, feel free to pick up the phone and call me, and I'd be happy to discuss the matter with you, but it was not a personal slight or personal insult. I'm sorry if I missed your email.
Well, you hurt my feelings, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
See, Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Going back to the situation of citizens tying into this water line that we are actually extending out. First of all, if you remember, I talked about the city of Shreveport, where people wanted to live outside the boundary to take advantage of the city limits, to take advantage of certain taxing measures and assessments, but they wanted city water. And I believe that there is an increased cost. My question is, will there be, first of all, be an increased cost on those individuals to help pay for this water system? That's my first question.
That's the
economic development issue. And let me just add my second question, because I understand Administrator Wilson said that would be addressed in the economic impact study. That's what I understood him to say. I wanted to be clear on that.
Yeah, that's correct. We'll cover that, sir. You know, the expected rates increase for the citizens, whether that will be the case or not. We'll cover that.
So in other words, to be clear, you're saying that we don't know that as of yet. They may be able to just tie in
That's correct.
Without any increase.
That's correct. We don't have that answer yet, but we will get it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, that's not what I said, Roy. My statement was they gonna have to pay to tie in, and then being that they stay outside the city limits of Blanchard, they will be charged a higher rate than the people who stay inside the city limits of Blanchard. The reason I know that is because I'm one of their customers outside the city limits of Blanchard.
Okay,
they have two different rates.
Okay, well that was my question, whether or not they would have a higher rate. I know they pay to tie in, but would that rate be higher than those that are within the boundaries?
Yes, I can answer that as a customer.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Commissioner Cawthon and then Commissioner Jackson, I believe.
Okay. Hey, I just wanted to see if Tim Weaver is online, and could he email me his cell phone number? I got a couple of solid waste issues I want to talk to him about offline. So that's lcawthorn@caddo.org.
Yes, sir. He's online.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson, your hand was
Yeah, I'll reserve mine to the end. It's not related to an agenda item.
okay. Next item. Oh, Commissioner Epperson, your hand back up.
Dr. Wilson, in reference to Mr. Cawthorn's request, remember I called you and asked you to give us a card with all the department heads' numbers on them, like you did the commission, which you normally do?
Yes, sir. We are currently in the process of updating that right now. As soon as we get it done, we'll give it to you.
Okay, 10-4.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Next item.
Okay, we are, before we move on to the next item, I did want to make sure and read the note that the commission will sit as the Tax Board of Review on Thursday, October 8th, during the regular commission meeting. And it does look like all of the appeals have been resolved beforehand, so we won't have any appeals that actually come before us, but you will be sitting as the Tax Board of Review on Thursday. The next item is the President's report.
Since he's not here, we're not gonna worry about it. We just move to the next one.
All right, we'll move on to old business. We have no old business on the agenda. Would you like to move to new?
Yes.
Great. Okay, under new business, our first item is authorize the introduction of ordinance number 5985 of 2020. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Riverboat Fund and the Oil and Gas Fund to provide an appropriation for the community policing project and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to advance ordinance 5985. Are there any questions? I see two commissioners. Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. A question for.
Excuse me, Mr. Commissioner Atkins. If you let me go over the basis of the project and you will save your question until then.
That's fine.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, my bad, Commissioner Carthon. I'm a little rusty at doing all this. Commissioner Carthon first and then Commissioner Atkins. Yeah, my bad.
Okay, no problem. Good evening, Commissioners. What I have before you guys in the way of an ordinance is what I call the Community Policing Act Project of 2020-21. And essentially what it is, this is information that's been derived from what is called the Presidential 21st Century Policing Task Force. And out of that task force was several best practices and initiatives from policing units around the country. Attached to this amendment, this ordinance rather, it's a list of cities, like the top 10 cities who have benefited from this task force and who have implemented best uses and initiatives from the project. What I'm proposing that we do here in the city of Shreveport, for very obvious reasons, as we relate and address to our crime rate that's currently going on in the city of Shreveport, in particular as it relates to some of the violent crimes in some of the higher crime neighborhoods. I'm proposing that we do what is called 3 safe houses. The safe houses are essentially going to be mechanisms where police officers can park their units there, they can do reports there, they can meet citizens there, they can also park cars and walk the beat. And the intent is to create an atmosphere where community policing involves the community at a hands level as it relates to interfacing with the police department. Obviously, when you're in places where you've had some high crime incidents, you got police presence, you got a police vehicle there. It tends to serve as a deterrent to certain crimes and to crime in general. Also associated with the safe houses will be the assignment of CLOs who are assigned to a particular district, and the districts we're looking at right now are Cedar Grove, Hollywood, and Moortown. And that's based on the information given to me by Chief Raymond. And so we will have police officers situated in those neighborhoods. The CLO officer will also be responsible for any community meetings that needs to take place along with the citizens. So we will engage community groups, pastors if they want to do a prayer visual, and the CLO, where citizens can come, ask questions about crime, ask questions about reporting crime, and how do we work collectively as a unit to reduce crime in these particular areas. The second part of this ordinance is going to be to fund 2 major pieces of training that is being recommended in the 21st Century Task Force recommendation initiatives and around the country. That's crisis intervention and what is called procedural justice training. Those are when you see all the cases about unarmed people being killed and being shot around America. This is some of the basic recommendations around the country that people are beating the deaths about that we need in our community. And why do we need this type of training? For very obvious reason, so that Shreveport doesn't become the next situation with George Floyd, Maria Taylor, and other people who have died in most recent years. And so I've had a conversation with the chief. He's on board with it, and we've kind of gone back and forth of how we can work it out. He will be available on Thursday to field any questions that we may have, and you can ask him directly as it relates to the administration of the program. So if we have any questions, and we're requesting up to $75,000. $25,000 will be used for the safe houses, and the criminal justice training will run anywhere from $45,000 to $50,000. We did a max of $50,000. They are still, and they being the Shreveport Police Department, are still checking with national vendors for additional prices. So we have an additional question. I'll take them now, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Atkins.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I got Commissioner Atkins first and then Commissioner Talaferro.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cawthorn, you answered part of my question. You said that Chief Raymond will be here on Thursday. I just wanted to hear his input on this matter. So thank you for for responding to that portion of my question, for anticipating that portion of my question. Any thoughts on once the pilot program is done, and it's successful? Any thoughts on where funding for a permanent program might come from?
Well, my conversation with the chief and was that this is also an opportunity for his department to start applying for grants. So if we do this program and it seemed to work well, just like with the COPS programs of years ago that kind of faded away in the 90s and the early 2000s, but there are grants that are available out there. So I will be admonishing the SPD to venture into looking at writing particular grants for the continuity of this program.
That makes sense. Thank you. And one final question for Dr. Wilson. Dr. Wilson, are there any rules or regulation preventing us from funding this type of activity, given that it's associated with the police department?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Talaferro.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Cawthorn, I presume, and you did answer, I'm glad the chief is coming on Thursday. I did shoot him an email kind of getting his thoughts on this as well. I'm not sure exactly what the definition of a safe house is. I don't know if that is a storefront where people can come in and out and has police presence. He's mentioned a vehicle. I'd like to hear how the chief is going to logistically support a storefront when we're short of personnel as it is, short of vehicles as they are. So I'll be very interested to hear his thoughts on this. And also I'm very interested in who's going to administer this crisis intervention, which I believe is a curriculum taught at the police academy now. And I'm not sure what procedural justice means, a procedural justice training. So I'll be very interested to hear what that is and who's going to administer that curriculum as well. So I agree with
okay, I can answer both.
Yeah,
Chief will be here, like I said, on Thursday, but in my conversations with him, I can answer the question from my perspective, my conversation. It is true that he is maybe a little short on personnel right now. And but essentially what we're looking for a safe house to be actually a house inside one of the neighborhoods where he identified the high crime areas. And our conversation always such that we didn't want to take his officers off of what they do on a regular basis in terms of being on duty. So for an example, when I had a conversation with him, I explained that from time to time, I see police cars, probably two or three of them, maybe parked on Linwood Avenue at a business that's closed. And I was suggesting to him that for whatever reason, they may be parked there, we could take that, they could do the same thing in so if it's Linwood in the portion of Hollywood, we could take a neighborhood house in Hollywood, park the vehicles there, whether they're being a decoy, whether they're writing reports, whether they're seeking calls, whatever they may be doing, just taking it from Linwood and putting it inside the neighborhood. And I expressed to him that I'm not trying to interfere with his schedule and interfere with his manpower, but the same things that they may be doing, as I just described, they could do it inside the neighborhood. Also, additionally, the safe house also could be a mechanism where citizens can come, they got concerns, they got questions, even if they want to provide some information in a clandestine way about what's going on in the neighborhood, that's a way for them to do. And then you always have citizens in the neighborhood who knows what is going on. And the safe house is also a mechanism where they can go down and actually conversate with the police officer. And so when I talked about the community groups coming and the pastors coming, all of that can take place at the safe house. As it relates to the crisis intervention training and the justice procedural training, they are talking with vendors from around the country that could, and it's my understanding that they have to do they're being recommended to do so many hours of it. So it's going to be a company or an entity, probably not local, maybe local, that specialize in this type of training, and the officers are going to be dispatched to go to it. But like I say, on Thursday, Chief Raymond can give you more detail and insight into exactly how that training works.
That's great. I do appreciate that. I know that we do have what we call neighborhood assistance teams and they're strategically located in a majority of the districts, the main police districts, which serve as a storefront where people can go file reports, get information, and so forth. So again, I appreciate your efforts, and I'll be very interested in hearing from the chief on Thursday. Thank you.
Okay, okay. And I just want to also add to this. This is just something that's a little bit more nuanced. I know there's variations of this that has been done before in previous years. I went through an extensive reading of the task force and as it related to community policing, the closer and deeper you got into the neighborhood, the more connected you got to the citizens in terms of being able to address even the petty crimes, even to the violent crimes. Like about a month ago in the Hollywood section, me and the chief had a discussion after guys got out in the neighborhood and just started finding guns indiscriminately. And I actually had a conversation with a lady who actually knew who the person was and what was the nature of that beef. And I think that was able to be resolved in some shape, form, or facet. So this is just a mechanism to put boots on the ground where it is closer to the people mainly affected by the crime that's infesting our local community at this time.
Again, thank
All
you.
right.
I appreciate
it. Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me start off saying that I've always had a definite interest in community policing, given that, when I was on the city council, I was instrumental in starting a number of neighborhood associations just to do just this. I think Commissioner Teleferio may have partly addressed my question, because when we were dealing with community-oriented policing program, then we did establish what you call NAT centers, neighborhood assistance team locations in these neighborhoods. My question
his Wi-Fi is fading out.
Is, how does this, I haven't heard, I didn't know whether or not they were dissolved. I thought it was pretty effective then, because it did allow people in the neighborhood to come and communicate with police. It allowed a place for police presence, and we were able to get some things done, but seemed as though, it has kind of died on the vine. I would be glad for you to start this up. I don't care what you call it.
His Wi-Fi is fading out. I can't hear.
It was a good thing. It did work then. Crime had more eyes out there. I'm sorry, and the people felt more connected to the police department through this type of initiative. So are these the same, or is the NAT teams been dissolved, or do you know?
You ready for me to answer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I didn't hear all of your question, Commissioner Burrell. Your internet was fading out, but what I think I got the gist of it. My answer to that is probably a question better suited for Chief Raymond. We've had some discussion, but as it relates to the deployment of his personnel, things that are currently going on inside the department as it relates to community policing, we didn't get into any depth about that. We only talked extensively about what I was proposing. He did intimate that some of the things that the concept is not foreign to him. I'm just describing it in a different way. So to answer your question, that'll probably be a better person posed for him on Thursday, since he's the current chief, and maybe what you are alluding to may have happened on another chief or a couple other chiefs.
Well, I may add, it did. It was prior to him, but if he's been on the force any time, and I don't know how long he's been on there. Seemed like I remember 14 years. He should be familiar with the neighborhood assistant teams, and as I said before, they sound like what you're talking about, but given the fact that yours is more current, it may be an opportunity to reinvent them. So that's the reason why I second it and I supported you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Epperson.
Here and again, I feel slighted now. We on virtual, right? We on virtual, am I correct?
Yes.
Does this ordinance adhere to the 3 criteria for virtual? I mean, does this have anything to do with the pandemic? I don't understand. It appears to me as if this can be on here, then look like my Jake break ordinance should be on here, as well as my declaration of November the 5th through the 11th is Veteran Celebration Week in Caddo, Bossier Parish, and DeSoto Parish in the city of Shreveport. I don't understand it. Is this money going to be reimbursed from COVID funds?
Are all those questions being posed to me, Commissioner Everson?
It being posed to whoever set the agenda. Who set the agenda, Mr. Johnson?
The
Commissioner
president
Epperson.
says it, and
Commissioner Epperson, I'm sorry. I'll be glad to answer, at least from what I know. This is the clerk. When we went through the items, with several, both the president, vice president, and the legal staff. With that tool that was sent out that has the series of questions, and that was what was used to determine.
Okay, what was the first question? What's the first question there?
Well, I don't have it in front of me right now, but I believe it was, is this necessary or vital to the public safety, health, and welfare of constituents?
I believe I can answer some of that. Commissioner, there's a list of 6 questions, but there's kind of an order that you have to go in. If this, then that. If this, then not that. I believe this would have met the criteria under being regular parish business, but there's also a deadline because it's my understanding that they're trying to appropriate and use this money before the December 31st fiscal year end. Now, if that's not the case, then it probably should not have been on the agenda. But if they are trying to meet that particular deadline, that is the reason why the ordinances for appropriations have been making the virtual agendas.
I'd like to meet the deadline for Veterans Day, which is November 11th, which has been here for years, to recognize our military and our veterans. That's why all of this stuff is just so unfair. And I think the Jake break ordinance is just as important to the constituents in that area where that's an issue, that it should be here too. The public safety and the well-being of our constituents.
Commissioner Jackson.
Were you finished, Commissioner Epperson?
Yeah, he already muted himself.
Okay. Whenever Chief Raymond or whomever is going to represent SPD comes, I'm interested in one, knowing about the units that we provided a couple of years ago. I don't know what other commissioners may have heard or may have seen, but I have not seen one of those vehicles yet patrolling either one of my neighborhoods.
You talking about those little SUVs?
Those SUVs out, and some folks may have seen them in their district. But my understanding was,
as a matter of fact, the example I gave you with the vehicles parked on Linwood, 2 officers or 3 of us there, it was actually those SUVs.
I got you. Well, I was told
I have seen them in my district.
And I'm not saying that they may not have been in others. I have not seen them in District 3, where I get my report card from. And I want to know, and when we talking about these vehicles being parked in certain places, I asked a couple of years ago, and everybody thought I was losing my mind when I asked for the GPS, when I asked for the GPS of the units for the vehicles that we bought, everybody thought I was just going crazy. But it's a known fact. We can build these homes, and I'm going to support this because I believe in supporting folks' ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a known. We can build or we can put a safe house in place, but until the leadership stands up and it becomes a leadership issue, we can't pay for leadership until the leadership of Shreveport Police Department, Commissioner Teleferro, to that sergeant and that lieutenant says, I want these units rolling down the street. I want you making non-law enforcement contact. I don't want this unit parked. I'm gonna get the unit number today. I drive down Grimmett Drive every day about a certain time. I ain't gonna tell you because they may be out there waiting on me one day. I drive down Grimmett Drive every day. And it's a unit parked in a certain location where we have problems at. And she there. I know she gonna be there. Then when I come back from where I'm coming from, I see her pulling out and pulling into the neighborhood. Some of these units, they sit in the most convenient place. I see some of them sitting behind banks. I see some of them sitting behind Brookshire's. Until the leadership, that XO on that shift says, this unit don't need to be sitting for 2 hours behind the Brookshire's. Commissioner Teleferro, you've been on SPD. Until the leadership says that, that's not going to be something that can be paid for. The leadership is going to have to stand up and say, if this apartment complex is a problem spot, write your reports in that apartment complex. Don't write your report over here where it's shiny and pretty at. Go back that unit up over there in that alley where Miss Johnson told you they drug trafficking. Go park that unit over there. Because Willie Shaw said it best. Well, I don't need no police station. I don't need no safe house. Your safe house and your police station, your substation is that unit. It's fully outfitted. And that's what I want to hear from Chief Raymond is, what are they doing as a leadership practice and a model? And I'm not saying anything to diminish Chief Raymond's leadership or anything. I don't want anybody to think I'm doing that, but there's got to be some change and some practices that's going on. Maybe this program may help. I still have a couple more questions that I would like to ask, but I still don't know how we benefited from providing those units from them. Then we don't get the report. Attorney Frazier, did you get the report from last year? Have they sent that? They were supposed to be giving us reports on the usage. We don't get those reports, and then they found a way. All they send us something is, well, they still in rotation. That's all they tell us. They don't tell us the call for services they responded to. So I'm going to be looking for us to make sure that if we approve this, that we have some type of reporting requirements, some substantive reporting requirements involved. Because I'm discouraged by this report that I saw this young lady who got drug out of a car and tased in the middle of the street. Because she had a driver's license plate out. And so I just, we got to have a holistic conversation. I proposed Shot Spotter a couple of years ago, and the leadership at that time said, we ain't want to do that. I talked to Chief Raymond about it. He said, well, I'll take a look at it. I'll give it under consideration. I hadn't heard back from him. Shouldn't Shot Spotter be a part, technology be a part of a comprehensive crime package? So that's what I'll be looking for when we get the chief. But Dr. Wilson, if y'all could find out what's going on with those units, why aren't we getting any more reports? Mm-hmm. I don't even know who my CLO is anymore. My understanding is that unit has been disbanded. I don't know who my CLO is. So, and I have not seen the unit that was supposed to have been dedicated to District 3 yet. So, Doc, if you could make a note and email Chief Raymond for me before he get here on Thursday, or else I can just ask him when he get here. But I don't want anybody to think I'm putting them on the spot and surprise them or anything.
Yes, so I'll send an email and ask the question.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. I want to add a few things to that. Those SUVs that we purchased, if you look at them, they should be numbered like 100 up to like 112. And at one point in time, the CLOs were the ones that were driving them. I've seen the one in the MLK area multiple times. And also, ShotSpotter was also introduced by myself back in 2015. And I got the same response from that police chief. So it's not just one police chief that's turned it down. It's more than one.
I mean, I'm not saying,
Roll
I
call.
won't know why any of them have turned it down. I won't know why everybody turned it down.
Cost. Roll call.
Commissioner Hopkins.
He
Commissioner
always got the question.
Johnson.
Yes.
Johnson. Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro. Commissioner Taliaferro.
He's on mute.
Yeah, I'm good. Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez is absent. Commissioner Lazarus.
Yes.
And Commissioner Epperson.
No.
Okay. That motion passes with, let's see, we've got 2 out, 2 absent, 1 in opposition, and 9 in support.
Next
And that
item.
brings us to our next item, authorize introduction of ordinance number 5986 of 2020. It's an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the capital outlay fund and the amount.
Move to advance.
Second.
Moved by the chair, second by, I don't know what commissioner that was.
Burrell.
Oh,
Burrell.
Commissioner Burrell to advance ordinance 5986. Are there any questions? Don't see any. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Jackson? I'm not hearing you.
He's on mute.
Commissioner Jackson, can you unmute? Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Taliaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez, Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, I've got 3 absent and 9 in support, so that motion carries to advance 5986. And that brings us to the next item, which is resolution number 71 of 2020. It's a resolution to allow NGOs that have not received their 2020 funds and who have submitted the requested COVID updates to their programs to be paid 50% of the original appropriation and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to advance to Thursday.
Mr. Chair. Second.
It's been moved by the chair, second by Commissioner Burrell. I don't have any comments on it. I'm getting to you, Roy.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Burrell.
Mr. Chairman, I would be, I would say recusing myself, but I would be abstaining because of the recent report that we got it. I believe everybody, well, we shared it with everybody on a letter that was sent to ethics, and it was addressed back in July of I believe of July, but we only received it here recently, at least seen a copy. So I'll be recusing myself for that and leaving it to my fellow commissioners to address the issue.
Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The resolution makes reference to submitted requests for COVID updates. Can you give us a feel for what percentage of that outstanding budget has actually submitted requests for COVID updates, or maybe easier just to say, what percent of the remaining budget do you think will be requesting funding, or what that dollar might be?
Finance on, I wrote it down, but that's been a couple weeks ago, a week or so ago.
Can y'all just
anybody from finance? Oh, Haley.
Yeah, I'm here. Just a second, I can get you that answer.
I do know that we reduced it to 50% in order to make sure that we had a surplus in the riverboat gaming fund, because I initially said 60 or 70%, and it was going to actually have to pull money from it. So dropping it down to 50% allowed it to have a surplus.
So basically, the 2020 funding, 2020 revenue in the fund covered the expenses that were being requested by this ordinance or this resolution?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Haley, just so I could...
I just didn't know the dollar amount.
Pardon me?
I just didn't know the dollar amount, but I know it left a surplus in it.
I know, there's a lot of numbers to remember. Could you just forward that to the commissioners, Ms. Barnett, just for our reference?
Sure will.
Thank you. If it's okay with the chairman of the committee.
Yeah, that's fine. I see no other commissioner roll call.
Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson, Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell,
Abstain.
Commissioner Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez, Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
All right, you've got, let's see, I've got 4 absent, 1 abstaining, and let's see, 8 in support. That motion does carry. And that brings us to the next item on your agenda, which is authorizing resolution number 72 of 2020. It's a resolution to authorize the Caddo Parish Administrator to request and authorize the Louisiana State Mineral and Energy Board and the Office of Mineral Resources to accept nominations advertised for, accept and award bids and execute all oil, gas, and mineral leases on certain mineral interests owned by the Parish of Caddo and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Move to advance to Thursday.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Atkins, second by Commissioner Epperson. I'd like to make a substitute motion to englobo resolution numbers, what is that number?
73.
72, and resolution 73 of 2020 to advance that to Thursday. Okay, got a motion by the chair, second by Commissioner Cawthorn. I don't have any comments on there, and I don't see anyone that has any question. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hopkins, Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yeah.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrell, Commissioner Burrell, I didn't hear you if you responded.
Roy.
He froze up.
His screen might be frozen.
He froze.
Okay, I'm going to skip it. I'll come back. Commissioner
Yes.
Cawthorn. Okay,
Yes.
thank you, Commissioner Burrell.
Oh.
Commissioner
Yes.
Cawthorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Gage Watts,
Yes.
I'm unmuted.
Commissioner Talaferro,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Chavez, Commissioner Lazarus,
Yes.
Commissioner Epperson.
Yes.
Okay, that looks like I have 2 absent and 10 in support, so that motion does carry.
All right, next item.
That brings us to communication committee reports.
Don't see anyone.
I'm up.
Next item.
Next
At my
item
hand.
is our
Where? Hold on. Somebody said that they was up, but I don't see them.
Jackson.
Oh, I see.
I see.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah. Dr. Wilson,
Yes, sir.
I know you have been, you didn't get a chance to make the announcement today about the Bayou Classic and the Grambling Southern game being played here in Shreveport.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you for taking my call over the weekend. I received a lot of pats on the back and a lot of thank yous while I was at the press conference. I'm just curious as to what in particular are you aware of, or are we being thanked for at this particular time?
Yes, sir. I did have a conversation on Friday with Mr. Henry Whitehorn from the city of Shreveport, and he expressed expressed for the parish to participate financially. And I asked him to put it in writing and send it to the parish, and I'll get it to the appropriate committee and the board, and they can decide what level that they are willing to participate. And also several conversations with Commissioner Johnson on Friday as well about this, because I think Commissioner Johnson had a better handle on the request coming from the Sports Commission end of it, which I think is crucial to our participation. So I think the city had a higher number, and in my conversation with Commissioner Johnson, he thought that was perhaps too high, and the Sports Commission asking everyone to participate equitably would be a more favorable approach for us to take.
Okay, because I went on just in anticipation. I went on to Horseshoe last night, and I went on to the Hilton Garden Inn last night to price rooms just to see. And on April 17th, April 16th, or no, that wasn't the 16th. Was it the 20th, I believe? But that date, that Saturday that it's supposed to be played on, last night, the rooms were about $130. If you go on there now, the rooms are $274 and $198 a night. So Bossier is going to receive a benefit.
Yes, sir.
From it, and so I think they definitely
and that's
need
why I
to.
was utilizing the Sports Commission instead of the city requesting it.
I understand.
The request should be come from the Sports Commission.
I understand. Like I said, the press conference today made no mention of the city of Bossier, made no mention of Bossier Parish, and I don't know that we're gonna put any road closure signs up. I don't know that we're gonna put any road closures up and stop people from going over to Bossier from benefiting from the windfall that's gonna take place. And so I'm excited for Shreveport, Northwest Louisiana, Caddo Parish to have this opportunity. But it's just, a process. It's a process that hopefully we'll revisit at some point offline or in public. We'll revisit to make sure that the process is right. Because again, we hadn't counted the votes over here at the Caddo Commission, and folks are thanking us and patting us on the back. And it's like, okay, what are we being patted on the back about or for in general? So just if we could, and I want hopefully we'll have the same zeal. I shared this with several folks, including your brother-in-law today, Dr. Wilson. I'm hoping we will have the same zeal and fervor, and let's get it done when it comes to the law school. Because the Bayou Classic is going to roll in and roll out of town in April.
Yes, sir, I understand.
If we make this law school work, it's something that can be here permanently ingrained into our community. People will come here and live here for 3 or 4 years and make this place a permanent home. It adds to our quality of life index. So I'm all for us turning over, because when we had our call a couple of weeks ago, just before Labor Day, we asked about the architecture and design, and we were told that there was no money. There was no money for architecture and design, and that the parish would have to foot that bill by itself. So I just want us to have the same approach and let's get this done mentality about bringing things that are sustainable and are going to be long-term and have a longer-term impact, as we are going to have about things that are one-time infusions of things that are going to come in and go. And so I'm excited about the opportunity, about both opportunities. As I talked to Wilbur Pryor, our Board of Regents member, I don't see any of it as a zero-sum situation. I think we, as Caddo Parish, as Shreveport, as Bossier, should be trying to get all that we can get. None of them should be mutually exclusive of any of them. They should all be mutually inclusive, where we can get it all done. So looking forward to what's to come, and looking forward to the benefit, that the good exposure that is going to bring to us. Also want to send a shout out and thanks to Animal Services for responding to a situation over here in Caddo Parish, over here in North Highlands early this month. And Dr. Wilson, I sent you and Travis the email about the environmental court.
Yes, sir. We saw it.
Can y'all maybe shoot me something to let me know what our level of engagement is with the environmental court? I think that's a game changer for our community, particularly as we talk about some of the less flagrant offenses that are not violent or domestic violent or type situation. But when we talk about quality of life, I think an environmental court will go a long way. I think some of these issues that we're seeing with animal services and these violations that we're seeing with animal services can definitely be addressed there, and probably be in an expedited manner. And I believe Terrence Green was open to doing that. So can y'all let me know what our level of engagement has been so far for me?
Yes, sir. Yeah, sure. We can go back and look at it again.
Okay. And Jeff and Michelle, appreciate y'all. Great Soul Bowl weekend. This past weekend, we were able to honor the life of Mr. Minion Nuke Jackson. No relation that I know of, but a young man whose life was lost. And the Green Oak Giants were able to walk away, basically run away with the victory on that day. And so thanks Jeff and Michelle for getting that out pretty last minute for me. That's it for me, Mr. President. Thank you. You on mute. You on mute.
Hello?
Okay. It's Commissioner
Who?
Carthon and Barrea.
Okay. Commissioner Barrea, if you would give me a call after the session. My son just installed me a Wi-Fi booster, and I'll tell you.
Yeah.
That's me. I'm on.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
That works well. Yeah, I can hear you.
Did you hear me, Miss Barrea?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Also, Dr. Wilson, don't forget Mr. Sibley as a guest for Thursday, right?
Yes, sir. We'll make the request.
And we're gonna look possibility of portalets and water and chairs.
Yes,
for
sir.
the potential overflow of early voters, October 16th through the 27th. And let's see, I had one more thing. All right. Oh, yes. One more thing. I've been getting a lot of calls, and some of you may be familiar with Bethune. You know, it was Central High School. Central went out, then we had Booker T. Washington, the only high school for blacks in Caddo Parish. Then Union was made a high school, and then Bethune. Bethune has had Bethune was named in honor of a great African-American lady, Mary McLeod Bethune.
Yes,
and
sir.
I understand that they've changed the name to Oak Park, right in the middle of that neighborhood. And we're going to be asking the school board to renamed Bethune back to Mary McLeod Bethune because of the history of that. And they were the Union High Eagles' greatest rivalry. So I want to make sure that we can make that happen. And anyone that's in favor of that, please contact me, and let's see if we can get that done. And I want something for you all to go home and sleep on. You know, I have to leave something with you, not the duck dip in the snuff, but I want you all to email me, especially Mr. Atkins, so I can make sure I got his email right. Who was the individual that made a statement that they would not have to fire one shot or any military action against America? America will defeat itself internally. And don't Google it.
Napoleon.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioner Burrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to go back to something that was addressed by Commissioner Stephen Jackson, having to do with this Grambling Southern game that will bring economic development to this whole region, not just Shreveport. Am I understanding him to say that Bossier City and Bossier Parish has not signed on or don't care to sign on to bring something of this nature to this? You know,
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Okay, could you clarify for me? Because I once
No,
represented both Shreveport and Bossier, and sometimes you have to nudge. Sometimes you have to nudge them, and sometimes educate them that that they don't live in a vacuum across the city. I mean, across.
Absolutely, I agree. I agree.
So sometimes you just have to, from the leadership, sit down and have that heart-to-heart conversation, because it wasn't easy to represent two different areas, two different cities that had two different philosophies. But when you sit down and work through it, many times you can come to common ground. I don't know if that's been done, but I know that the Sports Commission is a organization that represent both areas, and it would be splitting them also. So again, I just wanted to ask that to get a clarification that they.
Yeah, no. What I was saying was the press releases and everything that I saw just mentioned the city of Shreveport, the Sports Commission, and the Caddo Commission. I think Commissioner Linda Johnson indicated that the Sports Commission will be coordinating that, and so. But I did not say that they had not. I said I don't know if they have been approached, or at least they were not included in the press conference today.
Well, let me do this, because it does help the leadership who sit down and talk with Bossier. They're not bad folks. They just sometimes you have to educate each other on certain things and make people more sensitive. But if you're going to put out a press release, then I would suggest including them, because also because it's important that everybody get their due.
I agree. The commission was included and we hadn't took a vote, so I don't see why anybody else wouldn't have been included, but I agree.
Okay, sometimes it's just subconscious. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to bring that out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Cawthorn.
Yes, I want to chime in on that whole dialogue. I think that sometimes we need to be careful of speaking anecdotally. Even if we are in what people will consider hyper-partisan political nation that we find ourselves in, that's one commonality that people understand very clearly. That's economic impact, and that's the color of green. I served on the Independence Board for a number of years, and I would suggest to you that the average attendance at the I Bowl here in Shreveport was right around 33,000. We had some spikes when you got the right teams. Bossier Parish was always including that, Shreveport, Caddo. Everybody was a part of what we were doing. I will also suggest to you that the Grambling Southern game, the population and attendance of that game may be around 50,000 people. And so as honest brokers, as we go to the table and begin as we do it through the Sports Commission, once you understand the economic impact and the number of people that's going to potentially be here, and that people need to stay in Shreveport and in Bossier, that's going to be a very easy conversation. I just think sometimes we trip ourselves up by bringing to the table the notions of old, as opposed to say, let's come to the table as common brokers, and this is what needs to happen. Because remember, when you go to bat, when the Bayou Classic is played in New Orleans every year, it's played in New Orleans, but the people on both sides of the river, whether it's Metairie Kenner and whether it's Harvey Gretna, benefit in terms of hotels, restaurants, and entertainment spots, because it's 60,000 people for that weekend in New Orleans greater metropolitan area. And lastly, I think we need to begin to start looking at Shreveport as the Shreveport-Bossier greater metropolitan area, because this benefit can go all the way up to Midland, if you will. So it's just coming to the table with the right mindset, sitting at the table, being honest brokers. Thank you.
Yeah, and I can try to help clear up some of this. The discussion that the Sports Commission has been with all 4 government bodies, the representatives that's on the Sports Commission. And from those meetings, I've never heard anyone from Bossier or City or Bossier Parish funded from the Sports Commission side. And they also are supposed to be going back to their bodies and also
freezing up, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, we're not hearing part of your
but
message.
they were in support of the game and supporting it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's similar to what we did when the Bassmasters came.
Yes.
Everything was on the Bossier side, but we still gave. And so, I mean, just points of clarification of things. Turning people off. Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, I just want to be very clear that, you know, I'm supporting this, but I just want to make sure that our process is right, because we hadn't taken the first vote. This thing hadn't been introduced. We don't know if we signed up for 100,000 or 200,000. School board member this morning said the parish was paying for the whole thing. So process is all that was my Dr. Wilson process.
Consider the source.
Yes,
well, I mean,
yes, sir.
I just want to make sure that our process, we have not taken the first vote on this issue. I don't know how Commissioner Taylor-Farrow or Lazarus might feel about it. and they were saying that the commission is doing it. And so process, Dr. Wilson, I can't come up there. You wouldn't appreciate it if somebody came up there and asked you when they gonna start working. Thank you for the job, and you hadn't offered them. You ain't been through no interview. You ain't offered them no hire letter. They ain't been through no background check or nothing.
Yeah.
So the process, we got to make sure that the process is right.
Yeah. Well, Commissioner Jackson, we have a good process. We just need to follow it. The process is the Sports Commission and everybody who has a representative on that board going back to their respective organizations and telling them what the requirements are. And if we all mutually equally come to the table with the contribution, because it does benefit the entire region, not just Caddo Parish, but a lot of the hotel space will be required and venue closure as well. And like Commissioner Johnson said, similar to the Bassmaster Classic, a lot of it was held in Bossier. Some of the events were held at the Convention Center here in Shreveport, and we all mutually contribute to that endeavor. And I don't see any different in this case.
I agree. And that's what I'm making sure is our process is right.
Yes, sir.
Well, the process wasn't supposed to start until today because everything was supposed to be kept confidential.
Right.
But that leaked out earlier. So you can't ask for something that's supposed to be confidential.
Right.
Any other thing?
So like I said, the process ain't been right. The process ain't been right. If stuff is leaking, the process ain't been right.
Appreciate the shout out there, Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you.
Yeah. I got you. Okay.
Ready for adjournment?
Move for adjournment.
But we still have the citizens'
Second.
comments, late arrivals.
Oh,
Would you like me to give that
sorry.
number?
Yeah, go ahead.
That number's 318-226-6596.
Mr. Chairman, while we were waiting, may I make a brief comment?
Might well, yes.
Yeah, the gentleman that be calling about about the situation at LSU Medical Center, when we get him on, will we tell him we'll direct his call? Will we direct his call?
We have done that, Commissioner Epperson. In fact, we've connected him with several appropriate parties who seem like they could provide more help to him than us. But he continues to call.
Okay, well, let's continue to direct him, sir.
We will.
You so and so on. I suggest you call this number. Thank you.
Will
Goodbye.
One other comment.
Any calls, Commissioner?
We have we've not received any callers. We have no callers on the line.
All right, I entertain the motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Mr. Chairman.
So move.
Mr. Chairman.
And move to adjourn. And second.
Mr. Chairman, you hear me?
What?
Well, it sounds like he.
Am I muted? I don't think so. I just had Todd was on my mind. I wanted to try to get an update. If we did it earlier.
Well, that's a HIPAA deal. Talk offline about that one.
Well, a HIPAA deal.
Yeah, you talking about personal help. That's we shouldn't be talking about that over this.
Well, we're not doctors.
There is a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, I find that very disrespectful.
I was saying that we talking about a person's personal health shouldn't be talked about over a public meeting. I said talk about it offline.
I understand that, Mr. Chairman. I mean, you can at least address it, say, well, I don't know, or something.
I just answered your question. It wasn't how you wanted me to answer, but I said that we shouldn't be talking about it over a live meeting. It should be talked about offline.
Mr. Chairman, I understand HIPAA too, and that has to do with medical professionals. If he's okay, fine. If not, then or we don't know. We just don't know. Thank you, Mr.
I don't
Chairman.
know. Okay.